Good evening, everybody. We're just going to wait a couple more, maybe seconds, not really minutes, to see if anybody else is going to join our room, and we'll begin.
I don't see any others coming in right now, Greg. I think it's okay if we go ahead and start it out, and we'll get this started. Well, good evening, everyone, and welcome to our first ever virtual community forum. You are in the other/new issues room, so thank you for participating. I'm Aaron Floyd. I am the city's utilities director. I'm joined this evening by Greg Avakian, who is our Parks and Recreation director, and James Blattler, our senior analyst in the fire department. I'm going to share my screen for 1 second and okay. For a quick overview of what we're going to be doing this evening, and I'm aware that Summer and the others did an excellent job of bringing us up to speed on Zoom and allowing us to become familiar with the platform. But I do want to remind everyone while we're joined together this evening that this evening's session will be recorded. You'll notice that your video is off and you are on mute right now, so feel free to turn on your video if you desire to have us see you. Again, as was stated, there are two ways to provide input. The first, you can leave a comment in the chat box, or you can raise your virtual hand as Summer had defined earlier, and you will be input into the queue, and we'll invite you to unmute yourself when it's your turn to speak. So Greg and James will be helping me coordinate and moderate the session this evening. In an effort to hear from everyone, please try to keep your comments and questions brief. Feel free to use the chat box if you have any logistical needs or questions, and we'll work to address those quickly. Again, if you also just want to pop in, make a quick comment and leave, you can also just leave your comments right there in the chat box. And again, those will be recorded. And you can leave this room at any time and join another topic room. If you have some particular questions about that, you can also ask what other, where a particular comment might be addressed in the chat, and we can also handle that in that fashion. Please rejoin the main Zoom session at 8:15, and I will go for a second into the translation of this slide into Spanish, and I will allow our participants to read that, and then we will begin our session. Okay. With that, we will begin the session. Okay, do we have any hands up, Greg? I believe Chris has a hand up there.
We do, and I'll start our hand, and we also have one in the chat, but we'll start with our hands first. Hopefully we're able to unmute that for you, Chris.
Hi, good evening.
Good evening, Chris.
Yeah, so I wanted to put forth interest in supporting of childcare. I know the city of San Luis Obispo has vocally supported childcare, and I know that they're currently funding a childcare study. However, I would like continued support of childcare. Essentially, once the study is completed, that they act upon some of those results, as well as consideration in land development. So childcare through the lens of housing and land development, and sustainability of childcare providers within the city of San Luis Obispo.
Okay. On some of these questions, I might have a follow-up, not because I have questions myself on that, but as a gather all, I really want to make sure that we contextualize all of the comments. But I believe that was excellent. So I think we can capture that right there and pass that along. Thanks, Chris.
think I can lower her hand for her. There we go. All right. Our next question, I'll read off the chat, and I might be able to handle myself as my role. So thank you. No, I got to scroll back and find it. Someone already added another question. Addressing a playground or park in the Margarita neighborhood, which is kind of the South Higuera, Margarita, and Prado housing divisions, I believe, if that's correct. And the reason I like to take that is I also live in that neighborhood. And as the Parks and Rec director, I definitely understand that there is a lack of playground and park space with this. It's kind of more complicated, and I'll give you a brief explanation from what my understanding is the current area of land that is designated for the park and playground area is currently still owned by a private owner and has not relinquished that property to the city as of yet. So as we kind of move forward, and you mentioned the Park and Rec Master Plan, and we really appreciate that because our staff has been working on that for the past 3 years, and they are in the home stretch in the last few months to bring that draft to fruition in springtime. So it's on the radar. It is a topic for the master plan as well as our regular Parks and Rec Commission meetings. So it is on there, and I believe the best opportunity for the neighbors in that area is to kind of re-engage around March, April as we finalize the draft plan of the Park and Rec element and get it endorsed by City Council to then put it in motion. So I think there'll be a lot more information to come in the coming months on all city parks, and that will be also addressed for the Margarita area at that time. But as far as the land acquisition, it is already on the plans. However, again, the owner of that land has not relinquished it to the city as of yet. So that's kind of why we haven't had anything yet for the Sarah Meadows, specifically that new development of the last couple of years. So thank you for that question, James and Michelle.
Jason, do you have any other questions for us?
It looked like there was a second question. Okay.
Hey, Jason, thanks a lot for joining us this evening. Have a good one, and hope to see you in person as soon as we can all get back in person. Have a great evening.
Yeah, no other questions in the chat at this point.
And
Nobody waiting either.
Megan and Eric, how are the both of you doing this evening?
They're on mute.
I see.
How about, well, you can unmute themselves. Again, raise your hand if you have any questions.
Oh, we got a smiley face from Megan. We'll take it. So Jason was, or is, one of our utilities telemetry or SCADA techs. Yeah.
He has a short commute to work then, huh?
Yeah. Especially these days.
Well, yeah, we all do sometimes.
Yeah.
Yeah, he looked familiar, but I wasn't sure if just from the neighborhood or not.
Megan.
Yeah.
Yeah. I thought Megan and Chris, because they're both childcare providers, might have more stuff, but I think Chris just wanted to make sure she gets on record for childcare. She's been a big advocate with First Five and CapSlow.
Oh, that's great.
Working with Megan and the Parks and Rec staff as well. So.
Yeah, no, she had great points. I think she'll be pleased to see some of the work that's being done actually on a private side over there too.
Yeah.
So Ty Sofrino and others are working on that out there, where they're looking at that childcare facility on the property out there off of Facial.
Where's that? Oh, really? Okay. What was the other? There's another business that was. I think it's off Suburban. Forget now.
So you're talking about the Trust Automation one, right?
Yeah, it must be that.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think that used to be it. What was it before? It was an aerospace location.
A venture out there and all that.
think it was a Boeing or anything, but. Eric, do you have any questions, or feel free to raise your hand. We'll be happy to unmute you at any point, or just kind of sit back and we'll see who else might join our room later. I was trying to make some notes when the poll question came out for other, and there was, yeah, definitely Margarita neighborhood, the active transportation plan came up. Co-ops,
Yeah.
not sure what that was exactly for, if that was business co-ops or maybe just multiple between food and business and childcare co-ops.
They're moving so fast, it was hard to keep track of them.
Yeah.
Eric was letting us know too that he's just here for tech support.
Great.
And emotional support as well, right, Eric?
Thanks, Eric. You never know with us. Yeah, someone else wrote dog parks and then childcare, but
It's actually really good that they did that, because we might not get many visitors in our room here. So it's nice that by at least doing that word map like that and
Right.
having those comments, we'll at least capture them that way.
I did see additional staffing for fire for large incidents. So, but I have a feeling that might have been.
Oh, you had some insides. I think there was an insider with husband and wife potentially that are lobbying for some fair pay and staffing resources.
Oh, the fair pay.
Just sent you guys a text so that it's not recorded on your personal cell phones. It was.
Oh no! I saw the names. Yeah.
Yeah.
We're not talking. Yeah. No, it's on record though for the in the chat.
It is, but as a.
It wasn't me.
I can verify. You're happy. You're happy and very pleased with your job. We'll tell Chief. Don't worry. I know. I wish we could go like pop in on other rooms. I don't know.
I know that was, I think, one of the, because there were options on using Zoom, and one of them was breakout rooms, which I think you would have had more of an ability to do that, kind of. But there was an issue, like you would have had to have the most recent update on Zoom for it to work.
Okay.
And so to make sure all these people would get that was not something we wanted to rely on.
That's a good idea.
I was wondering if there's a capacity issue in each room if you do it that way as well. If it's not a standalone Zoom, like maybe you can only have 50 people in a room. If you had 100 that were interested in homeless, then you're kind of putting people in the waiting room. That's too long.
Right.
I wonder if our IT person knows that answer.
It does sound like a other topic.
No pressure.
There's no cap issue, but we didn't want to get the technical out.
We can talk with us. We can unmute you. That's no problem. I'll limit this. You can choose your own. I think I just did it, so it's up to you now. Your call, Eric.
No, that's fine. I think our big issue ends up being is that there's some technical requirements. As we saw in our primary room, for the main engagement, individuals were typing into chat rather than engaging in multiple windows. And so we're having a little bit of a difficult time, not necessarily with everyone. We think it's probably roughly about 40% of the individuals at this moment is that they're kind of multitasking. And we want, so one of the ideas too that we kind of talked about internally is discussions on like the links, for instance, on the web page are pretty vague. So like our group, for instance, doesn't have necessarily the other new ideas, doesn't have a lot of participants at this time. And it's to give individuals ideas of what they want to join into. There's also a lot of participants that we're seeing inside of chat and inside the polling who are just kind of blanket making statements rather than being constructive criticisms or constructive ideas.
Oh,
So I definitely saw the with the police theme, you know, probably hit a turn like 5 times in a row to make it like seem like it was more than one.
Yeah, so I mean, those will happen. They'll be able to be weeded out in the long term, but this is one of our very first digital kind of efforts, and I
Mhm.
think this is going to help us project into, at least from a technological standpoint, new ideas on how we want to engage with this and which engagements are important. And this idea of like, yeah, multiple streams. So we have worked with Zoom, we have worked with Teams and worked with others, or how you can do like multiple breakout rooms, but it's still at this point not an easy click from like one room to another, where you'd actually have like, let's say 4 rooms up, and then I just click on one and then I get that feed, and then I click on the other and then I get
Yeah.
that feed. So
I've only done rooms like I think once or twice, and it was during a friends get together. We did like a trivia thing where we had our teams go to a room, figure out the answer, then come back. And it was timed and all that, but I personally as a participant couldn't go to a different room. The host would say, you're in this room and that's all you get, you know?
yeah, so there's that one feature, and then there's these other ones that this is one of the, right now it's a technological limitation that should be addressed at some point in the future here by Zoom, to allow you to basically have like a Zoom lobby where
Yeah.
you'd be able to click on different rooms that you can go into, but they are working on it. It's just not
Okay.
necessarily available at this moment.
Well, to be selfish, we're working on our Park and Rec master plan, and we're going to have community engagements probably in end of March,
Okay.
March 31st ish. And typically, you know, you'd go like kind of this kind of a forum. We do a big presentation in the beginning, and then we'd have different topics of like, okay, Laguna Lake, you know, Sinsheimer Park, blah, blah, blah. And people would go around, or they would take certain aspects, and we're trying to figure that out. So this is a great trial for our staff, myself, to kind of see like, how does this work? Will it work? And if this is our technology, how do we structure?
So one of the good aspects within Zoom is you can preload people who've registered for the meeting into specific rooms. So they can make a request based on their neighborhoods.
okay.
So this is the park that they're going to be attached to. So when you do the breakout rooms, rather than doing it randomized, or rather than doing it sequentially, or however that Zoom, you know, you have your audiences for it, you can actually assign individuals ahead of time to those rooms.
Okay. So yeah, we could maybe do a survey, and they can kind of select like, oh, we want to be a part of these 2 rooms for that evening, and we can kind of assign them, and then put one in there, and then at a break or intermission, they can re-sign in for another one. Okay.
Yeah, and that one where it doesn't overlap, where you actually have like maybe 2 30-minute different breakout rooms, maybe like, you know, 10-minute, 15-minute intermission between them, basically says, hey, give us what you would like to see, and then you can assign them one for the first session and then assign them another for the second session.
Got it. Okay.
Well, I have to say from the outside, I'm impressed. It's, I mean, just getting everyone into the room, you know, getting the mayor, getting Derek, getting, you know, all the instructions done, getting everyone to then open a second window and do, you know, the polling.
Yeah.
Can you imagine well, we've learned a lot, and I'll say that since COVID, we've all learned a lot. So
One
We're
other.
we're trying to get that information out to everyone as much as possible. I think in the general public, we have started focusing, looking at some of the positives and some of the deficiencies that we may have looked at within our website and information transfer. So those things will incrementally start increasing the ability for the public to interact with us as best as possible.
yeah. What did we have? 170 or almost 170 participants this evening?
Yeah, I was impressed with the number.
Okay, maybe 40 of those were staff, but you know, it's a lot of the community
100,
scrolling through it.
Exactly, 100 plus community members. Yeah.
Yeah, that was great.
Another thing that's cool that I don't know if they're doing it tonight or not is, you know, the traditional dot exercise where you have, you know, a list of items and they put dots to kind of like, which is your priorities. You can do that on Zoom through a stamp feature. which is not activated currently on the screen I have now, but there's a drop down that you can get like a check mark or a star, and then you can move it with your cursor and you can put it on different things multiple times as well. It's pretty cool. We did that on Saturday with the Emerson Park
Okay.
forum to say, like, which of these features do you like more? You can do a polling, and then you say, okay, now where on the map would you put that playground?
Oh, wow.
Basketball court, or the lighting, or the where would you like the hydration station to be located? That was pretty nice, because that's the part you miss in the in-person, is a little more detail of their explanation versus typing it all out in a chat.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna get a new fresh water, so I'll be right back.
I think we got this.
You got it.
Doing the same. Yeah, I think one of the things that we're also looking at is we have some automation that we can do through Laserfish for forms and funneling inquiries and questions through some of these like web interfaces, where individuals can click on links to make commentary about specific things that they want to have extended, communication about, rather than simple ideas going through onto our web interface. So we have talked internally about that as well.
So someone might be able to even submit a document or something in that.
Yeah, so they would be able to submit commentary based upon what they've seen during certain types of agendas or city council meetings and things of that nature, that we can kind of dynamically let them choose to have a dialogue out with it, and instead of raising their virtual hand inside the web interface and making public comment, where they would actually be able to make those comments kind of like how they would have done in person. So that would be a alternative that we've looked at.
Oh, that's cool.
All right. I like your background, Eric.
No, I was thinking the same. That whole
I was
Aurora
like,
Borealis.
Starting to get a little hypnotized.
I know that it's moving, and I'm like, that's great.
How do you get the movement on that?
It's one of the extended in the latest release of Zoom application on your desktop that you can go in, and there's even a beta that I don't know how many people can view it. It allows you to have like sunglasses and little graduation caps and things as well.
Oh.
So if you go into the application under the gearbox, over on the right-hand column, or I shouldn't say column, right-hand side beneath your login, there's the background and filters.
Yeah.
And there's virtual backgrounds. And then
video filters.
Northern Lights.
Mine just says none. I have to upload some, I guess, huh? Oh, here's video effects. Ooh, here we go. Let's see. Oh gosh, eyebrows, mustache. Yeah, I don't need that.
No, and then I don't know if you have it available on City Resources. In the bottom right-hand corner, it says Studio Effects Beta.
Yeah, I just opened that up, and it.
Oh yeah, so mustaches,
eyebrows. Yeah, since we're recording this, I will not play with those I don't need to bring that back to me about 6 months from now.
Mr. Avakian, we'd like to have a conversation with you.
Or just broadcast it to everybody and don't tell me. Yeah.
Yeah, I should. Okay, I'm going to quit messing with that myself.
Nice if we could do it for others, though. Put a little on James. Well, we got 30 more minutes almost, so I don't know if anybody's going to be joining us.
Getting reports from a couple of other IT individuals that some of the rooms are dying down as well.
Okay.
DEI is not.
How about homeless?
That one's pretty busy right now too.
Okay, imagine.
And infrastructure only has a couple, but they're pretty vocal. Economic recovery does not have very many people.
Which one?
Economic recovery.
Oh, okay, yeah, okay.
Are we seeing, can you see the type of comments yet, Eric? Are the defund comments?
Back from colleagues in each room.
Okay, I was wondering if the
Oh.
defund that we saw on the polling ended up in the infrastructure or where it ended up.
Oh, yeah, that's true. It could be there or economic stability.
That's in infrastructure right now.
That's what I
Okay.
was thinking. Yeah.
Good old Matt and Greg. All right. Cruz and Horn. Oh, Jennifer Thompson's over there.
Yeah, JT's there.
Nice. How about just regular, about Measure G? Is anything going on? What's that chatter at like?
Let's see. One of our colleagues is in there real quick.
Well, I guess we could be thankful we got a little easier time tonight than the other team.
Not surprising though, because a lot of the people that did the online polling, that ranked the previous 9 above, other, are the same type of people that'll show up here today.
Mm-hmm.
Just get those groups that are very active. Surprisingly low Bike Coalition. I thought I would see more Bike Coalition group. I know historically that's been a pretty big advocacy group locally, but I don't know if you guys noticed that at all yet.
In years past, it for sure has been. I mean, I remember financial plan events and not the well, sometimes at the community forum, but where they would come out and it'd be 20 individuals or more.
Yeah.
You're muted.
But things
Mr.
changed.
Muted.
It's a little bit different.
I was muted. I recognize about 4 names that were part of the bike, or say our bike culture and our bike advocates, maybe more. Just kind of scrolling quickly through the 100+ names, but I did see 4 guys that I know and one woman. So that's say 5, but they might be here for other things. But
there's been a lot of investment towards improved bike transportation too. So it could just be they got what they were looking for.
I think they showed up really to, like, in the polling and the word emphasis. There was a lot of stuff on bike paths and institute the ATP tier 1 phase and all that. So I think that's what they're here for, is to push for that. They don't really need to have us chat about it in here. They're probably going, okay, where's the mayor? where's the city manager going to be? What room are they in?
Yeah.
How are things going at the water treatment plant, Aaron?
It's actually going really well. I'm gonna so we have 2 projects going on, since I'm going to bore you with infrastructure questions since you happen to ask, James. Seems like a
Learn about other
work-related conversation.
Yeah.
So we actually have, most often when people say the water treatment plant, they often mean the water resource recovery facility. Yeah.
I misspoke. I am sorry about that. Yes.
The work.
It's a good opportunity to clarify that. Yeah.
We don't like to confuse the two. Yeah. But
the
names are so similar, this happens all the time.
Right.
So that project is about $130 million in scope. It's moving along. We luckily have not had any direct COVID delays yet, at least related to sicknesses. We've added precautions. They seem to be working well. Gosh, we've had a couple near misses. People thinking they were in contact, and then we quarantine them and get them tested, and we're coming back negative. So we're really happy about that. We're seeing a little bit of a delay in some of the supply chains, getting some of the equipment. Yeah, and it's the one-off pieces, but they're integral to the project. So, this one was going to be on, 2 months out. Now it's 4 months out. So those are having little issues, but we're at a point in the project where there's so much to do. There's some dynamism there that they can actually bounce around. But Miguel Barcenas is leading that project. Yeah.
It's a good person.
Yeah, Miguel's
In-person
great.
meeting.
He's
Yeah.
nailing it. So,
Great.
I mean, even given all this, we're on budget, so it's great. We also have a project going up at the water treatment plant right now, though, is why I was asking that. I mean, yeah, timing, but that's about a $13 million upgrade up there, which is really getting to a point where we're starting to commission this week. So,
What part of it's being upgraded? I've been lucky enough to have a tour. So
at the water treatment plant?
Yeah.
Awesome. Okay. So we use, and this is always a tough one when I talk to the council and the community about this, because we use ozone for a primary disinfectant, which, in most people's everyday, conversations, ozone isn't what you think about as a primary disinfectant like that. But that extra oxygen can't wait to get off and, and rip itself in and rip other things apart to get rid of its charge there. So
I used to use that for one of our pools up in the Bay Area, ozone, to reduce the amount of chlorine. It would.
Oh,
you wouldn't. You'd only use like 0.005 percent or parts per million of chlorine because the ozone did all the work.
And that's same thing we do. We hit it with our primary disinfectant. We kill everything with the ozone, and then we only inject the chlorine that, people are like, oh, it tastes like chlorine. We only inject that on its way out. And that's because it has the ability to keep a residual so we don't get any regrowth in the lines. So I'm sure that's what you were using it for as well, Greg, because it gets hit in the sun or anything else, or it's, dissipates as soon as it hits air, it's gone. So that's the big one right there. We're putting in a massive backup generator, the megawatt backup generator for PSPS. We're putting in we're in contract right now with Tesla for a backup battery up there. So kind of doubling down on resiliency. That's pretty cool too, because it'll also be tied into time of use. So we'll be able to take advantage of some of the electrical rates by using the battery and charging on and off peak. So yeah, it's exciting. A little too many projects going on right now, and we're aware of it, which it would have been tight had we not had a pandemic. So yeah. What's new in fire world?
It's just been so heavily focused on disaster preparedness, disaster response, which is good. It's something that we've needed to focus on for some time. But we're just trying to work on getting together a self-assessment, which will really lead into kind of identifying, little shortfalls that we don't realize are there, that areas of improvement, things that we can work on that are hard to just put your finger on without really analyzing it and taking a hard look. So it's a step process on if you want your agency to become accredited. That process usually isn't worth it. There's not a whole lot to be gained by doing that. But the first step in that is doing a self-assessment, which there is a lot to be gained there. But so I know the chief's been working hard on that while doing a million other things, as you both are doing. But yeah, it's interesting times. And
we have a couple in the waiting room.
Yeah.
You guys ready? Okay, we've got two new participants in our room right now, so I'll turn it over to Aaron.
Yeah, good evening and welcome to the Other and New Topics room. So would either of you like to raise your virtual hand there, or would you like to enter something into the chat room and we can take your comments? Okay, we have a couple showing up. This is good.
I was just gonna check with our new attendees if they're able to see in the chat any of the previous questions or not, or is it a blank one since you guys are just now joining in the room? That's a question, a technical question that we're wanting to know.
Yeah, so if any of our participants would like to comment.
It's blank.
Okay. It is blank. Okay, well, we appreciate that. We can share with you a little bit items that have been covered so far, and then if you'd like to add to that, we'd love to hear from you either in the chat, or if you again raise your virtual hand, we can call on you and unmute your microphone and bring you on. So far, we've talked a little bit about some parks in the Margarita area. We've talked a little bit about childcare, and Greg's given us a highlight on some of the highlights on the upcoming Parks and Rec plan. So would anyone else like to add to that, or is there any questions or comments any of you on the room would like to add?
Not seeing any hands yet.
Okay. Well,
or chats.
okay.
We'll kind of,
We'll wait. If you decide to comment, feel free to do so. Folks are dropping in and out of the room, and we are here to listen. Got it. No pressure. It's a casual room.
Yes.
Okay, we have our comment posted there. I wanted to bring awareness to the several disruptions SLO PD is conducted on many areas that house less people living, areas that house less people live during this shelter in place. Yes, while we are again told to shelter in place, this seems very cruel to do to people. Okay. We definitely
feel a little bit. I might be able to feel a little bit of that.
Thanks, Greg.
Just make sure I close some things. So kind of, I think I get the gist of the question is that there are PD or maybe some of the county resources are disrupting or moving homeless or houseless community members out of their area, disrupting their current state while we're under a shelter at home, which means don't go anywhere and don't move around and limit your movements. If I'm might be paraphrasing in that, but I think that might be what you're discussing. And currently the majority of encampment cleanups or houseless or homeless community members have been relocated or moved currently based off of safety. For example, the Bob Jones Trail in the San Luis Creek area was winterizing, getting prepared for rains. It's a flood zone. So all those encampments were moved and relocated. Another area was the Bianchi area, which was relocated. And then those are the only ones that I'm aware of currently. I know that some community members in the homeless or houseless community have been moved only for like night ordinance. If they're in a park setting after hours, after 10 p.m., they need to be moved, and then they can return at I think it's 6 a.m. So those are just some of the things that I'm aware of that might be corresponding to what's going on. And then an additional, I'll come back to that. Additional piece of that is 40 Prado. Locally, there's the Echo Center up in Atascadero. When there's beds available, those are also communicated to our CAT teams, the SLO PD, our Ranger Service staff, our colleagues in the county. We work with them for all the support resources. If it's medical, if it's relocation, if it's connecting them with families. Those are the kind of social services aspect that the city is not necessarily, that's not our zone of sphere of influence, that's the county.
Greg, there was another comment on there, or a follow-up comment from the same poster regarding Mitchell Park.
Mitchell Park was closed for about 4 days for major maintenance. Just about a month or so ago. Don't quote me. I recall it was before the holidays or right around that time. But it was closed for maintenance that wasn't able to be done because of COVID. It's typically done in spring, which is usually April and May. Right now, the bathrooms are open. The park is open. The only thing that's closed right now that I'm aware of is the gazebo for additional maintenance, painting, and some electrical work that needs to be done at the gazebo. But currently it's open, as all of our parks are for the community.
Okay. I'll also let the poster know on there that we do actually have a homelessness topic area room as well. Perhaps you've already visited there, but we will definitely make sure that your comment is incorporated into that topic area as well. So this is a perfectly great spot for you to post that comment as well. And if you have additional questions, or if we didn't capture what you were expressing to us as you would like it to be recorded, please let us know.
Okay. I think we have about, 10 minutes left or so, just under 10 minutes for this room before we return back to the main room again. And that's, James put that link back in the chat if you need to get redirected after this session.
We had someone and they left.
It was Natalie.
I saw that.
Teresa did a drop in as well a little bit earlier.
Nice of them to support in that way. We do have someone in the waiting room.
Just let Nancy in.
Hello, Nancy, and welcome to the Other and New Topics room. If you'd like to, we have no other participants waiting right now, so if you would like to just listen in, if others show up, you're more than welcome to do so. If you do have a comment you'd like us to capture and share with council and others in the community, you are more than welcome to either place it in the chat room or to raise your virtual hand, or you can just, as we're communicating with one another, you can just give us a signal and we'll unmute you and you can go ahead and give us your comment if you'd like. Okay. Greg, you want to?
Okay, you should be, I think you have to unmute yourself now, Nancy, and you should be ready to go.
Okay, thank you. I was just jumping around in and out of other rooms, but I saw like, other ideas, like new ideas. So I thought I would just pop in. I didn't really have anything more to contribute that I didn't already say in another room, but if it's all just city staff, I'll just hang out with you for 5 minutes and see if anyone has any other great ideas.
It's not all city staff at this point. We do have some others on here as well. And we can also, if you look in the chat room, you can also see a couple other of ideas that have come up that have been posted there. So we've had some conversations related to park or playground in the Margarita neighborhood. Greg, our Parks and Rec director, who is with us this evening, has been able to give some comments back on that, as well as some what we might see coming up. We've talked a little bit about the homeless or the houseless issues, as well as Mitchell Park. And we had some initial comments on the need for childcare in the community. So if you'd like to add to any of those, or if you'd also like to share other comments, or feel free. Well, Nancy, since I have you on here, then if I can ask, what other rooms have you been to this evening? Oh, she's muted again.
Oh, I'm Sorry.
There you go.
Okay. I was at Housing First. And
Okay.
then I went to Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion.
Nice.
And then I went to Infrastructure Maintenance.
Okay.
And then I was just at Economic Vitality, Recovery, and whatever the third adjective was that I don't remember.
Okay. Oh, you're awesome. You've been all over. That's great. That's great.
How's the experience out there? I mean, virtually, obviously, the first time doing this. We've been in our rooms. We haven't had a chance to kind of see how the flows are going, but is it?
It's working really well. I used to go to the Ludwig Center when you had the actual physical meeting there with the stickers. I'd say probably there were more people in the diversity, equity, and inclusion room, which was exciting to see that there were a number of participants that were in there.
Mhm.
So that was probably less like in the infrastructure maintenance, because I don't think that's quite as a hot topic, even though, you know, our roads and infrastructure are equally important.
But the DEI topic is important, and we actually just had a participant add something similar to that in the, or a DEI topic in the comments too. So since education is so essential to anti-racism, what programs can be implemented into elementary schools to teach elementary age students the true and extensive California and national history? So we can definitely capture that here. We have our experts on DEI over in the topic area, but you know, again, we can also put these here and actually capture that and move them on. So that's great.
I think probably the best feedback that I could give you guys is that a lot of things are really interconnected. So you might be talking about one thing, but it really spills into like another category. I'd say probably like the childcare, like affordable after school childcare, or even like little, maybe like study tutoring centers that might be, you know, that kind of, you know, the increase for people needing access to childcare and access to broadband and maybe access to healthy snacks. So it kind of like, you know, overlaps. And then I'd have to say probably the one thing I was disappointed in was a lot of people wanted to not do the improvements, the capital improvements needed at the police department, because they felt like that huge amount of money should go towards more socially equitable stuff. But I mean, the police department is like 40 years old. And so I think at some point you're going to have to invest in that infrastructure.
Yeah.
Okay. That's the balance, right? Of, you know, social issues and infrastructure and resource and programs, try to figure out the best way to utilize that funding. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm sure that they are going to hear that comment repeated. It sounds like what you're telling us over there on several levels. So that's good. Yeah. And that's what we're hoping to hear out of this community forum, is it's that real opportunity for the community to, you know, share with staff as well as our council members, you know, what the community wants to see, what we're hearing, and where the emphasis should be placed in our upcoming financial plan. So thanks, Nancy.
Yeah.
Looks like we have a couple other folks joining us right now. Councilmember Pease.
Councilmember, yeah. We had a bike advocate who popped in and now is gone. I guess Jesse wasn't, maybe he's looking for somebody.
Okay.
So yeah,
And we have been taking comments both in the chat. So our participants that are putting this on chat as opposed to sharing it with us in a verbal method, that's great. They're all being recorded. We will be able to capture all of these and compile all of the comments from the community together. Councilmember Pease, did you have something you wanted to ask of us? You want to type it? Do you want to be unmuted? Would you like to raise your virtual hand? Second one, I think, is what it was. Okay.
I'm trying to find you, Andy. There you are.
Thank you. I was like, I can't unmute. Wait, how do I gotta type? Wait.
Welcome.
No, thank you. No, I've been room hopping, and the other ones weren't set up. The other ones were set up that everybody could just unmute themselves. So I assume this group was super boisterous and unruly, and so you had to shut them down. I understand.
No, I would say just the opposite.
No,
Nancy's
no.
been great. She's joining us right now. She's been participating with us. Several
Good.
others have dropped in, given us stuff in the chat. A good
Mhm.
variety, but
Yeah.
I think in all we've had probably 6 or 8 maybe comments so far.
Yeah. Good.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was in the infrastructure one. That was good. Good talk about roads, etc. Yeah. Nice.
All right.
Marshall. Hey,
And
Marshall.
we did get, we are getting a couple more popping in
Perfect.
now.
All
All
right.
right, we got
Marshall's in our
Marshall
queue
is
next
up.
there.
Marshall's up next. If
Yes. Hello. So this is the new ideas one, right?
It is.
Yeah, new
Okay.
ideas, other topics, miscellaneous.
So this, I don't mean to sound like I think this is like a top priority for the city, because we've got a lot of things on our plate. But I recently moved here. I moved here over a year ago from Los Angeles. I love living in SLO. I love how small and close to my government I feel. I love that this is happening. This is all great. One of the things I would love the city to be thinking about is the brightness of public lighting at night. And specifically, I feel it's too bright.
Okay.
Part of the thing that I liked getting away from LA is like LA, it's daytime all the time. You have to get blackout shades and stuff just to be able to even sleep at night. But more and more research is coming out that on the real cost to our wildlife and to our own personal health, the brightness of human settlements at night. And I do appreciate that there are pockets of SLO where I can get away from city lights and be able to see the sky in a much more vivid way than I get to see anywhere in LA. But I live near like the train station, for example, and it's some of the brightest lights in town, and they're on all night long, even though we receive no trains at night. They're just cleaning the train. So I kind of wonder why that they're on. We know they're affecting our owl populations, our night insect populations, things that are really critical to the farmers, gardeners, folks like that. And more study, actually, I was reading a study from MIT that was pointing out that actually the amount of streetlights in a city does not dictate nighttime crime. It turns out that if people are going to commit a crime, a streetlight is not what keeps them from doing it. So it's more of it makes us feel safe. We're visually dependent animals, and so it feels safer to be able to see everything even at night, but it actually doesn't make us safe. And especially when lights are still going on well past midnight, when a vast majority of people are at home with their doors locked, asleep, it just feels like we could give back to our nocturnal animal neighbors and give back to anybody who's a fan of stargazing, like myself. If we re-examined either how bright streetlights are, because there are some really there's some super bright streetlights in my neighborhood, and I don't really understand why they have to be so bright. So I was wondering if there's either a way to turn down their wattage, change out the wattage of their bulbs, and then when it comes to like the train station, does the train station even need its lights on? So again, I don't think this is like top of our important things to do, but I think as a quality of life thing, I'd love for the city to consider that.
Yeah, I think this is a great opportunity too for, people such as yourself just to raise those kind of awarenesses for us all on this. So thanks. Appreciate you sharing that. That was a well articulated, and I love the data backed on the comment. Thank you.
Thank you.
I think we've...
Oh, real quick, I would say that we can forward that over to, it might be a public works, it might be part of natural resources, might be multiple different, divisions and departments we can share that information with. So
maybe a little climate action in there too.
And climate action, there you go, yeah.
I won't call on you, Councilmember Pease, unless you want to raise your hand on that, but. Oh, she does have her hand, okay.
Oh.
I don't like being not able to unmute myself. It's a control thing now.
Is that a comment? Okay, we'll write that one down too.
Yeah. No, I was just going to say it's an interesting, I thought it was also good timing for that about the lights because we're getting a lot of requests for people who are walking at night, especially around like Cal Poly students coming home late, and they want they want lights because they feel they do feel safer because they want to be able to see their surrounding, but we're trying to see about the scale of more of a pedestrian scale of lights, right? Because cars have headlights. They're not really the ones that need it. It's the, you know, pedestrians so to have them be super bright. And that's a great comment about the train station, those workspaces too, because, and I'm on slow cog and part of that. So that might be something to ask about. So thanks.
Thanks to both of you.
Yeah, I saw Scott Clear.
Yeah, Scott Clear, I believe, was one recent. Adrian Harris and Chief Alforque joined us.
Yeah, Chief, yeah.
And City Manager Johnson joined us.
City Manager, okay.
So to any of our new participants, if you would like to raise comments, issues, you have, again, the two options. You can raise your virtual hand and we'll call on you. We'd love to hear from you, as well as we also have the chat feature in which we are collecting these comments. So again, if you'd like to raise your virtual hand, okay, or your actual hand, Scott Clear.
We have made it so now, Scott, you can unmute yourself, I believe, at this point, and feel free to ask a question.
Hi, and thanks for having me, and thanks for this great collection of people. Marshall, I agree we don't want to have lights that we don't want, but my thing for years has been to light Sinsheimer Park, specifically the tennis courts, and I don't say that with a disregard for impacting quality of life and things, but to make that facility more useful, particularly from like October to January when we have daylight savings. I think it would provide a tremendous service to our community. And right now, especially, you see the high school court shut down during COVID. Before they were shut down, the most recent time, there was just a great service to the community for people to enjoy that. And then another piece to that I've thought about as I drive out towards Cuesta is how many people playing slow pitch softball have to drive there. And I don't know how you calculate the environmental impact of creating that drive time, but all those ball fields at Sinsheimer are dark at night. And to your comment, Marshall, about having lights at night doesn't necessarily make us safer. I totally get that. But I do know that when I walk through Sinsheimer, or if I happen to be, there at nighttime, or my wife wants to take a walk, that's a sketchy feeling when it's dark out there. So there's kind of a couple pieces that make Sinsheimer specifically significant for me, with tennis being something that I love to do. But I agree that, they don't want to be on all night long, but to get more mileage out of what we have, I think that, as you pointed out as well, not a screaming priority for our well-being, because we got too many people sleeping outside and, too many huge problems, but it's an important one to me. So thanks for hearing those thoughts.
Yeah. Greg, did you want to comment on that?
Thank you, Scott. Yeah, I will. Your timing is perfect. I will say that as I'm the director for Parks and Recreation, and we are in the home stretch of our Parks and Rec master plan, a 20-year plan for upgrades, renovation, and potential new facilities and amenities for our city. And that should be finalized for public. The draft should be finalized for public workshop coming up in March. So just another month or two, maybe 2 months from now. And the topic of lights at tennis courts at Sinsheimer has been going on for probably 20 years. And it's something that has come up in the feedback and public workshops that we've hosted for the past 3 years. So that's definitely on the radar. And then obviously safety lighting at all of our parks has been on our radar for a while now. And we are definitely looking at just for public safety, for if it's the unhoused, and just overall enhancement to our parks. And then for the softball fields and stuff, Sinsheimer, unfortunately, the diamonds that are there now, the Stockton field is a baseball primarily, and it's a little too short of a fence to do traditional adult league softball. And then the stadium itself obviously is a baseball stadium that could be used for softball, but it's really made for baseball at this time. And all of our rec leagues are held at the Choro Fields, which is our relationship with the county to use those two softball diamonds, as well as Santa Rosa. So we've heard from our softball community the same thing. Why do I need to drive all the way out to past Cuesta to go play softball when I live in San Luis Obispo? And those are all going to be hopefully a part of our upcoming Park and Rec Master Plan draft. And I look forward to having you, Mr. Clears, join us in another virtual format and provide that feedback in our community outreach and input as we finalize this plan, so we have some good roadmaps and blueprints for the future. So great timing. Appreciate that.
Yeah. Hello, Adrian. We see you have your hand up as well.
Yeah, thanks. I just joined, so I don't know if this came up in this breakout room yet or not, but I mentioned it really briefly in the survey earlier, and that's the idea of childcare in our community and how we're tackling that. And I know that the city has been working with First Five and the school district and the county and maybe a couple others on this big effort to get our minds around this kind of community-wise and what we're going to do. And I was just curious where that conversation is and if there's any piece going to come into the next city budget, if there's anything the city's identified, kind of this early action items. You know, coronavirus has taken our childcare infrastructure in our community that was already in not the greatest place and made it worse. So it's pretty critical for families right now. And I was just curious where that conversation is at.
I'll jump in again. This is right up my alley right now. So yeah, I think a silver lining of COVID is that it has helped everybody realize how important childcare, schools, teaching, all that has become more in our viewpoint, because now all the parents are in those roles again, and not just being parents, but educators and day camp and childcare enthusiasts as well. And the study that you mentioned, CapSlow, First Five, the city, county, Cal Poly, have all been contributing for a study that's going on right now. And it was a little bit of a blip because of COVID. They had to take a couple little pause and hiatus, but they've returned. And the consultants are providing some information, I believe in February or early March, on some of the early results of the study. There's two phases of the study. So that's the first one should be presented to the contributing agencies, I'll call it, and they'll be having that. It was also brought up earlier in the first part of our chat when we first came on this session at whatever it was, 7 o'clock or so, and it was just mentioned by a couple other community members that it was a concern and should be a focus as well. The nice thing is our city council has been advocates for this, and they were really contributing financially, obviously, to the study, but also to our Parks and Rec department to stand up our childcare and day camps in June during the middle of COVID, when everybody else wasn't able to do that. It was our first service and an essential service to kind of get back on track. So the relationship with the school district and YMCA and the city has been pretty strong to try to meet that need, at least of the school age group. But we also know that younger age, preschool or pre-K age group is also a big challenge for families. So we will definitely take this as recorded notes and be able to pass that through as we, again, focus on the budget and priorities for the 21 through 23 budget cycle.
Can I ask a really quick follow-up question? So if you're getting your initial report maybe in March, is that still enough time for that? Any kind of interesting things coming out of that to feed into the budget cycle this round?
I can't speak for the council, but I believe a lot of our city staff are working on budgets all the way through April to get it ready for it, presenting to council in April, May, to be endorsed in June. So I believe, you know, if the content is thorough enough, again, we haven't seen the report, and has enough roadmaps, might be low hanging fruit, or it might be very comprehensive and large scale. It'll be presented to council, and then they'll have to make that decision.
Thank you.
You bet.
Thanks, Adrian.
Please follow the agendas for council meetings around that time. And then Marshall, I think we have only about a minute or two left before we have to get back to the main room, but I saw your hand is up.
Oh, thanks.
Okay, well, I'll just make it really brief, and I don't know if y'all touched on it or whatever, but I would also love for the city to pursue a more formal relationship with the local Chumash tribe. I know obviously there is a desire on the part of the city to honor and to work with those folks. And I think in that spirit, one way to go towards it is just an even greater formalization of the city's relationship with the tribe, and perhaps invite for a tribal member to become an advisor to the city, so that we can be better neighbors to the indigenous First Nations people who lived here. And like one thing that I know is happening is, as Diablo Canyon gets decommissioned, the California statewide, there's essentially a right of first refusal when lands like that come up for sale, that they would be first offered to the traditional tribal folks who are from there. And I know that the local Chumash folks are looking into buying it when it becomes. I would love to see the city formally endorse that, to give a letter of endorsement, and even possibly, if our budget allows, contribute some funding towards helping them purchase it back. I feel like that's a form of reparations that the city could show its support for its tribal neighbors. And at the same time, that helps feed into our environmental goals, because the Chumash folks have already spoken towards a desire to rehabilitate and return Diablo Canyon to its natural state.
Marshall, is there a name for that movement? I think I saw it get mentioned in the scrolling list earlier as we were listening to or taking some of those comments.
So it's the Tribal Land Transfer Policy. That was Newsom signed into law last year, I believe. So it's like the Land Back program.
Land Back.
That Land Back. That was like the one I saw it go through the.
And so the policy itself is called Tribal Land Transfer. And so I know the Yaktichu, Yaktahini are looking to put in a bid to buy Diablo Canyon when it comes up. And so I'd love to see the city formally endorse and assist in any way we can.
Okay, we will take that comment.
Great.
Thank you all.
Perfect,
Thank you.
perfect timing to head back to the main room and re-engage.
And for all of you on it, the link is over to the right. So if you click in that link in the chat right there, that will return you to the main room. We will see all of you there. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. I'm going to go ahead
Perfect
then.
timing. See you guys.
All right. I think we'll go ahead and shut this down. So there is that
this
link.
one we go.
Mr. Clear, if you saw that over in the chat, there's a link that was posted right there. If you click on that, it will bring you back to the main room, and we'll
just above your comment. And I appreciate your comment. So right above where your comment is, there's a link right there. Good.
I don't see the link back.
If you open your chat feature.
And I got it to everyone, and I see the comment I made to Greg, and
okay.
I'm gonna put it, see if I can copy.
I just reposted it.
Okay. I was gonna do the same.
Where do we live?
Mine didn't work. Don't do mine. I don't know what that is.
Yeah, I just did mine and it gave me a utilities one, so that wasn't it either. Mr. Clear, do you see that one there though that says slowcity.org government department?
Hey James, you're sending it to the waiting room, everyone. There's two everyone.
Oh, you know what? Oh no. Okay. Everyone in meeting. There we go.
Yep. Now it should show up.
I haven't been doing it the whole time then. Oops.
That okay.
Okay, good. All right.
Okay, I'm going to officially end this session. So,
all right. Thank you for participating, Mr. Clear, and have a great evening. We'll see you back there.